One of the worst things about growing up is that you lose a lot of time. Or more specifically for me, you lose a lot of time to try out all of the cool games that are just sitting in your backlog. I have to be very selective with what I'm going to be trying out. I mean, I'm not really down for an epic 100-hour open world adventure or an absolute beast of an MMORPG, but every once in a while I'll see a game on Twitter or YouTube or really any platform and I'll just be like, wow, I have to try this game like right now. It happened way back with Mirror's Edge, it happened more recently with Omori, but my most recent discovery is a really special one. Everhood, an ineffable tale of the inexpressible divine moments of truth, is obviously a very different game, for a lot of reasons, but really it only takes a few seconds of gameplay footage to get a good idea of what makes it different. Look at this clip from the first half an hour or so of the game. You gotta see it. You just gotta see it. So yeah, as you can see, this is just, wow, a lot to unpack here. I would love to give you a genre for a game like Everhood, but it's really tough to pinpoint, so I'll just say that the gameplay is like Guitar Hero, but you're jumping over the notes and interacting with the notes, sort of like a pseudo-rhythm game thing. You play as this puppet named Red, who got his arm stolen, and the main quest is you trying to find the stolen arm, while exploring a world that takes influence and inspiration from a ton of other games, with some that are fairly obvious, and others that are a little more tough to catch. As you journey to get your stolen arm back, you'll meet a ton of fun characters and encounter a huge variety of these Guitar Hero battles, most of which have enough gimmicks and twists to keep the formula fresh throughout the entire thing. It's also not super long. I mean, you can beat it in like 7 or 8 hours, which pretty much made it the ideal game for me. And I love it. Everhood is super fun, but as I played through the game, I had this weird, lingering thought in my head the entire time. How does everything in this game feel so new? I mean, you've seen the clips I've been showing. The gameplay of Everhood is really unique, but this was different from when I played similarly unique games like Undertale or Mirror's Edge or Omori. Despite Everhood being a culmination of callbacks to other games, everything about it felt completely different, and I had no idea why. In fact, even after playing it for only a few hours, I already knew that I wanted to make a video on this exact topic, but I just couldn't figure it out. So I did some digging, wrote down my thoughts, drank a bunch of coffee, and I think I've figured it out. Hear me out. So Everhood has a storyline of Red trying to find his arm, but even from the very beginning of the game, you can tell that there's a lot more going on. And don't worry, I'm not going to spoil the story or anything. I mean, I don't even think I could if I tried, but I think what makes Everhood feel so new is how it presents its wide variety of characters. See, normally when you play a game with a large cast of characters, the way they're initially presented and further developed is through dialogue. I mean, what easier way to tell the player what this character is like than having you talk to them? It's really effective. Then, the character is further developed through smaller things, maybe certain animations that they have, or music that might play when they're in your party or when you fight them, or flashbacks that might give some insight into certain personality traits, all of which are supplementary to the dialogue. All of this comes together to help the player grow some semblance of attachment, emotional relatability, empathy, hate, some sort of emotion towards the character. But Everhood does something a little different. See, in Everhood, the character development is a mixture of this conventional development and another one that makes music and animations the forefront of presenting a new character. Which, now that I'm saying it out loud, sounds super confusing, so let me give you an example. Let's take Ziggs from the beginning of the game. You meet this character by accidentally spilling his drink, which he's understandably upset about. But when you talk to him, there's only about 10 seconds of dialogue before you go right into a fight, and you learn a lot more about the character during this fight than you did during the brief segment of dialogue. The fast tempo, the bass-heavy kick, the jungle drum break all come together to show you that this guy is intense. But when you look at this character and he starts attacking you, he has this steady, methodical footwork. It's almost like he's done this routine a million times, and you're just another person at the club who made him upset. His age is starting to show too. I mean, he's winded after longer attacks and he has to take little breaks in between the faster sections of the song. As you get farther into the fight, the constant bumping of the kick drum turns into a stream of synthesizers, and at that exact moment, Zig's glasses break clean off of his face. In a fit of rage, he begins using a new attack, giving you an indication that although he's a professional, he has a short fuse and a lot of tricks up his sleeve. And you learned most of this through this short interaction that has very little dialogue. It kind of reminds me of how Lisa the Painful, or Undertale, or really any Earthbound-like game told a story through their battles, but I guess those were a little bit more dialogue-heavy. Anyways, you see Ziggs a few more times throughout the game, but the most interesting encounter after this first fight is during the kart racing segment, where he tries to rig the race in his favor by throwing a bottle at your screen, further building upon the whole tricks up his sleeve idea. And the game doesn't just do this for Ziggs, you go through this motion with other characters. I mean, you have a very small conversation with them, you make some inferences based off the fight that you have with them, and then those inferences are supported during their future or previous interactions. And this isn't to say that Everhood doesn't have dialogue, or that some characters aren't developed through dialogue. The game does that too, but switching things up in what looks like such a minor way really affects the tone of the game and makes things feel fresh throughout the entire experience. And trust me, this is just scratching the surface of all of the weird, totally out there things Everhood does to set itself apart from other games. But seeing all of this stuff for the first time is what makes the game really fun, so I'll leave that part up to you. Also, a little off topic, but another thing that I'm really excited about from Everhood is the custom battle editor. In this part of the game, with a little work, you can make your own custom battles with your own music. It already has some pretty cool stuff, and I'm sure it's going to get a ton of support down the line, so big ups to Foreign Gnomes for including that in the game's release. Also, the game is only like $10 on Steam, and I think it's like $15 on the Switch eShop, which is a crazy bargain. You have to try it. Anyways, I'm done recording this, and I'm hungry, and I'm gonna go get a snack. Bye.